Hello, welcome to Guides the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we are doing horror hot takes. Will and I have some opinions of our own that we're going to bandy about. But more than that, we have opinions from our listeners who so generously submitted them to us that we are going to read and discuss.
Yeah, I think this is going to be fun. This is one of those things that I want to get more and more and more. So even as people are listening right now, if you've got an opinion about horror that is controversial, that most people don't seem to agree with, send it to us.
Yes.
GTTUpod@gmail.com, and maybe we'll do this again sometime. Because even writing down some of my own controversial horror opinions, I was like, this could be a ton of fun to share and debate. Is there a movie you love that everyone hates? A movie you hate that everyone loves? Do you, I don't know, just any sort of like bizarro fan theory that goes against the grain, anything like that.
Yeah, you'll get a feel for what other people are doing as we do the episode. And so if something springs to mind for you, by all means, send it to gttupod@gmail.com.
Yes.
Because this is super fun. And thank you so much to everybody who submitted these. If you don't hear your hot take read in this episode, expect to hear it in another one because we got a lot of them. And I tried to kind of like shuffle them up.
Sure.
And we'll get to them. So don't worry because I really liked all of them. So let's kick it off. You know what? Why don't I kick it off?
Okay, yeah. This is a
let's
good
have
way to usher in.
You and me
We
will
go
do
into the deep
one
end first.
and then we'll get to everybody else's.
Because people might, this is one of those things, a hot take, a controversial opinion means that we might have a response from people that are like, you are so wrong.
Yeah.
There's a concept in television that like if you're on a show or something, or in politics as well, that if you go like, oh, I've always been a dog person. If you say that simple fact, all the cat lovers out there are now against you.
Right.
So we're really getting into some dangerous water here by saying things we do and don't like.
I will be that dog person.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first. Okay. So it's not the hottest take in the world. I think the take has gotten more tepid as time has gone on.
Oh, okay.
I think when this first came out, it was a hotter take. I think The Village by M. Night Shyamalan is a good movie.
Okay.
I like the movie The Village. That is the one where there are people in kind of an old-timey village, and should we spoil the twist?
Well, if we mention a movie, we're going to spoil it. I
do
too. I don't
I
like
do too. I
don't like to have to dodge things. I want to talk about stuff. So we're going to spoil The Village for the next few minutes.
Yes. So it looks like an old-timey village, and there's like a monster around the edges of the village that you have to avoid. And it turns out they're actually in modern day, and this is a little created environment to protect from the ills and technology of the modern world. So I think it's a good movie. I think that the twist might feel a little crappy because it's not what you thought you signed up for. It's a little bit jarring. But I think it's kind of an awesome surprise. I happen to love a twist and a surprise. I really enjoy them. And I like it, but it has 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was largely derided when it came out. And I think that the overall idea, if you were to get a little bit deeper into it, of blocking yourself off from all pain is interesting. And it obviously doesn't work out for them. And I like this movie.
Okay, let's discuss.
Okay.
I agree with you. When is the last time you saw this movie, though?
It has been a while, but not as long as you might think.
You have no idea how long I might think.
When do you think I saw it?
What happens when you assume, Kristen?
I'm not going to say it.
I don't know, a couple years?
Probably been a couple years.
Yeah. So I tried to watch it a few years back. I remember when this movie came out. I, like many other people, the writing's sort of on the wall. By the time The Village had come out, M. Night Shyamalan had already done. Boy, The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. His reputation as the guy that has a big twist ending was already solidified.
For sure.
So everybody looked at this period drama and said, it's probably going to be modern day or something like that. No one knew exactly, but we were all like, it's probably modern day or something like that. It turned out to be exactly like that.
I don't think I ever thought that it was going to be modern day. I obviously knew there was a twist coming because that was the thing, but I don't think I subscribed to the modern day thing.
Okay, I remember a lot of people theorizing that. And then when it turned out to be exactly that, then people really put it under their boot and smushed it.
Right.
In the movie theater, like you said, I love a twist ending myself. I think that there are arguably like 4 twists in that movie, and almost all of them work for me.
Yes.
There is the big twist, obviously, of it's not, it's not olden times, it's modern day, and they're pretending it's olden times, which is strained. It's hard to make that work, but they make it.
I think it works okay.
They use just enough credibility of like, well, we bought this land and we're rich and we pay them on this reservation to ignore us, and we paid to even change the flight paths of airplanes. Like they go all the agonizing detail.
They think of all the things. You'd be like, well, what if this, or what about that?
Here's an answer for that.
Yes.
Oh, what if this? Here's an answer for that.
Yep.
Like they get you on all that stuff, all the technicalities. That's the big twist.
Yep.
Here are some of the small twists. The entire movie, you've got Joaquin Phoenix as your main character. Halfway through the movie, he gets into a confrontation with Adrian Brody, where Adrian Brody and Joaquin Phoenix both have designs on Bryce Dallas Howard. And so they were at loggerheads, and Joaquin Phoenix is like, well, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And, Adrian Brody's standing over by the doorway. And then Joaquin Phoenix turns around, and Adrian Brody's right in his face. You couldn't even hear him move across the room.
Yeah.
But Joaquin Phoenix turns around, and Adrian Brody's standing right in front of him, which is shocking. And then Joaquin Phoenix looks down, and Adrian Brody has stabbed him. Yeah,
it's a bummer.
It is so upsetting and sad.
It's very sad, because then Adrian Brody is super sad about it. I would say that's a problem with the movie, Adrian Brody's character.
Yes.
A big problem with the movie.
He is playing a mentally disabled character.
Yeah, and this part is very upsetting, but it is definitely a twist, because you thought you were going to be following Joaquin Phoenix all this time.
Huge twist. Now Bryce Dallas Howard is our protagonist. I loved that twist.
Yeah.
Next twist. There are monsters in the woods.
Right.
No, there are not. That is a costume that the elders wear to make sure that people don't stray into the woods.
Yeah.
Number one, we've talked about this a lot on Guide to the
I see that as an extension of the bigger twist.
It is. It's part of
the...
But
it is still a twist. Yeah, you're right. You do find out separately.
Yeah, it's another thing to learn. But then there's a twist on that as well. Because the elders dress up like monsters to make sure people don't go into the woods, because they would then discover we're in a Truman Show type snow globe here.
Yeah.
So they dress up like monsters, so the monsters aren't real, except that Adrian Brody has been dressing up as the monster and killing. And so he has become the monster.
Right, so it's kind of real.
There's also a moment where Bryce Dallas Howard knows that monsters aren't real, and yet she encounters one in the woods, which leads us to go, whoa.
Yeah.
Are the elders dressing up like monsters, but the monsters are also real? Like there are a lot of like things that make you go, what?
Yeah, they're unsettling.
They're very unsettling. I really love all of those things. However, I also saw it a few years ago, and it felt very long.
Really?
Yes. But
I remember still liking it. I mean, I saw it, like I said, it was probably a couple of years ago, and I was like, this is a good movie.
Yeah. I have a ton of affection for that movie, and a lot of affection for really... Boy, I think the only movies of M. Night Shyamalan that I have not seen are The Happening.
Same.
I have not seen it.
You know what? I came up with this take, and then I was like, it would be a spicier take, because I think that people have kind of come around on The Village in recent years. So it's like, that's why I said it's a tepid take, because I think some people have been like, we unduly crapped on this. This is actually a pretty good movie.
You think so? Yeah. I still hear people talk about it if I ever see them talk about it. It's usually in the context of this is the beginning of his decline.
They do say that, but I guess I'm partially thinking of the Blank Check podcast episode about The Village with Emily Vanderwerf, who was a big fan of the movie and was like, just what I said was like, we gave this a harder time than it needed, and it's kind of redeemed by watching it again. Okay. So I guess that's my perspective of people saying they like it. But so the thing that I was like, oh man, if I had time, I would try to do this take if it were true, is that I wonder if I could watch The Happening and say that that's a good movie, because I've heard that people kind of misinterpret what the intent of it is. And again, if your intent matters only to a degree, people are, it's people's experience of watching it that they're really going to take away from it, understandably. But I have heard that people took it seriously because it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but it was intended to be more of a B movie, like a schlocky kind of horror thing. Okay. And that if you view it through that lens, that it's more enjoyable. But if you're looking for something that the guy who made The Sixth Sense made, then you're going to be like, what the hell is this?
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to look at it through that lens then. But yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
All right.
Do you want? You know what? I'm gonna say this one. I wrote this down impulsively, and I think that it's probably a good connection to what we just discussed.
Okay.
But it's a weird hot take.
That's fine.
Doesn't really. It's not really about horror. All right. Here's my hot take. Audiences are way too critical, and they are the worst thing about horror movies.
You know, they can be and they can't be, because there's also the flip side of that, which is I think these two things are born from the same thing. I was about to say the flip side is fandoms who get super passionate and make it fun.
Right.
They're both coming from the same well of taking it very seriously.
True.
And that can suck the air out of things and the fun out of things real quick. Mm-hmm. So being so critical and looking to poke holes in things, the way that a lot of horror audiences do, or looking for reasons why they suck, does make it suck to talk about horror. There's also just so much like line drawing.
Yes.
I feel like in horror
this is
specifically.
Good, this is bad.
Well, and also
that movie
like
sucks. This was trash.
That, and then also this is prestige, this is not.
Yes.
This is horror, this is a thriller, this is suspense, whatever. Like, why do we... It's interesting to think about those categories, but why do we need to figure out what it is and be like, you're wrong?
Yes, I completely agree. And I'm saying this full well understanding the hypocrisy of the fact that I agonize over entertainment. Mm-hmm. But entertainment... like at its core, it's supposed to just distract you and take you out of your life for a little while. It's supposed to just sort of like make the time go by and get you thinking. Like, even if you don't like The Village, why does it have to be, well, he ruined that?
I know. What the hell's the big deal?
A movie is so much more than a title and a poster. And I think we're so quick to say, oh, M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Overall, I had a negative experience with that entire movie, so therefore the whole thing is crap.
Right.
Even though movies are made up of, first of all, the like skilled work of hundreds of people.
Oh, yeah.
Set designers, costume designers, cinematographers, like who can each bring their own flavor to something. It's not just the director. Writers. But like individual moments. And I think that this is one of the things that I've been teased about, but that I'm actually like proud of, which is I have certain movies that are, I know, not great movies, but I love them because in, you know, the last 45 minutes of it, somebody said something funny, and therefore I like the whole movie.
Yeah,
or something like that. It's the sort of reverse effect. That's why I'm a hypocrite. But it's that like there are individual elements inside a movie that can be good or bad.
Totally, and
not
like, you don't really
good
need to
bad. Your interpretation of good or bad.
Yes.
But fandoms like create this like echo chamber, and we all glom onto each other, you know, and like we then become like a tsunami of hate or love. And it's two giant polarized things, and nothing can ever just be like, yeah, hey, they were trying some like really interesting things. Here's what did work. Here's what didn't work. It's always got to be hate or loved it. And it really makes it like, it makes me like, there are creators that I like who don't make stuff anymore because their movie flopped and flopped hard. And it's like, it didn't flop.
Yeah.
Everyone's learning a lesson. The second you make something, you've learned what you should or should not have done. Like, it's a shame that those opportunities get taken away because the fans flipped out and said, we hate that.
There's a lot of throwing out the baby with the bathwater in horror specifically. Like, I don't think that like the romance or like Hallmark movie genres have people who are fighting as hard on different sides.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
We're very polarized in horror.
I think it's also because it's like somewhat niche. It's not really that niche because obviously they're like big blockbuster horror things. But a lot of the people who like horror like were kind of like the dorks or like not popular kids in high school, and so you kind of cling to certain things that make you cool, and so horror is often one of those, and learning everything you can about it, so you have this like, it's tied into your identity and it becomes very serious.
It's one of those things that becomes your personality.
Right. And so because it's your personality, you take it personally. And to take something personally is to inherently take it seriously.
Yes.
And something I want to say that I thought of that is like a little bit of a mind bender and like not easy to reconcile for me when you were talking about all the different people involved in making a movie. It's not just M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. It's the sound guy, it's whatever, is the idea of canceling certain people for horrible things they've done. So like, for instance, Woody Allen and people not wanting to watch Woody Allen movies anymore, which I completely get in behind. Sure. But I read something that somebody said, and I was like, that is true, and it's tricky, and how do you do this right? Is that, yeah, Woody Allen wrote and directed this, but you're also not watching something that this set designer did that they're really proud of, and whatever. And maybe that just is the way it is, and it's just a shame that the most powerful person on that thing did ruin it for everybody because they did horrible things. But it's true, you are condemning a work as a whole that really wasn't the work of one individual person. And I don't know the right answer for that. No, but something interesting to think about.
Yeah, I think it's completely interesting. I think it's funny because particularly in this day and age where there are so many different outlets to get your entertainment, theoretically that should hopefully mean that there are opportunities for a million different voices to make stuff. Mm-hmm. In practice, I don't know that that's always the case.
Yeah.
But having all of this new entertainment that's everywhere is also a way for everyone to get lost. Mm-hmm. So people do need to champion stuff they like. Mm-hmm. But I think that the ways that we champion things or put them down usually end up feeling very one note.
Yeah, and just kind of they have to be so all the way. Like, I absolutely love this thing. I am the biggest fan of this thing.
Right.
Like, we can't all be the big, and like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You don't need to. I find myself doing that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I like it the most.
That's what I'm saying.
And like,
I do
who
it too.
cares?
I completely do it too. Which is why I think it's a hot take of
I know.
We gotta take our own temperature occasionally and be like, maybe I'm coming on too strong.
Yeah,
here.
maybe it's okay that I don't know every single thing about this thing. That doesn't mean that I like it any less. That doesn't mean that I'm not as valid as a horror fan. I also think sometimes, not all the time, as a girl, even it's left over from like high school and stuff, like I wanted to prove that like I know all the cool stuff that like the dudes prove,
right?
Or that they know, like whatever. I still have some of that,
sure,
and it's not great.
Yeah, but I think it's also interesting that it's like we are all these things.
Yes,
you know, like horror is part of my identity.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
It's not all of my identity,
right?
Or something like that,
right? What you were saying also reminded me of something that I have recognized in myself lately. I'm a little, even though I like it, and this isn't an absolute, I'm a little fatigued of learning the behind the scenes, behind the curtain of things. Like, I don't want to hear about how comedy is like jazz one more time.
What? Who's been saying that?
People always say that.
Where?
It's like jazz, just follow it. You just go with it. Boopity pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, that unified experience of us all going to jazz clubs. Do you know that common experience we all have of always going to jazz? More than watching comedy. Even more than seeing comedy, we all know about the flow of jazz.
But like, there are like a lot of like, and I don't even listen to them.
Shouldn't in the modern era it be jazz is kind of like comedy?
Probably.
Don't we all engage with things that are funny far more than we engage with going to live performances of jazz music?
I just think, and I both like it and don't, like, there has become, it's hard to even say because I do like it in some ways I don't. There's like a reverence for the artist that I find a little cloying and choking sometimes. Yeah. Like hearing about your process and like all the podcasts that are like, take me through when you sat down to write this book. I'm kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to read
There was a time with WTF, the Mark Maron podcast.
Yeah, it's like this kind of
everybody,
stuff. Yeah.
Where it was just like, I wanted to do for a while a parody podcast where I would interview clowns, like actual clowns, like Bonko.
Yeah.
And just be like, so tell me about your childhood. Tell me about your
Yeah, I'm kind of.
Where did you learn to blow balloons?
It's all worthwhile. Like
we all contain multitudes. Each one of us is a book.
It's just a personal thing that I don't need a behind the scenes for the moment.
1,000%.
Maybe I will again later.
It's cool to take a breath.
I need a breath.
It's cool.
I don't want to hear about anybody's process right now.
Yep.
I just want to watch it.
Yes.
Or read it or whatever. So I guess that was a hot take within a hot take.
That is a hot take and a hot take.
Okay. All right. So now let's go to some of our listeners' hot takes and see how far we get in the course of the show. This is a fun one from Dustin. This is switching gears away from kind of like movies and real life kind of stuff to like theoretical paranormal stuff. Dustin says, there is something that lives in the dark that's always there. I think there's a real reason why we're all so terrified of it, the dark. Every time we think we see something moving or see something out of the corner of our eye, we did.
Ooh, I love that.
I love that hot take.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it's really cool. First of all, I entertain that. I like that idea. Mm-hmm. The annoying part of me that I wish I could turn off a little bit more sometimes that looks to debunk things because, again, that girl who's embarrassed in high school doesn't want you to think I'm stupid and I just believe every single thing that I talk about.
Sure, yeah.
It's just a self-conscious tick on my part. But I think about that there is some sort of like literal programming thing that you will see things out of the corner of your eye that aren't there. That's like proven to just be a physical thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A 1,000,000%. You and I both took psychology classes. Mm-hmm. There's something that I remember about how in your peripheral vision, you can't see color.
Oh, yeah. That blows my mind.
Yeah. All your rods and cones in your eye. I believe it is the rods can determine light and dark. Mm-hmm. The cones can handle processing color. All the cones in your eye are front facing.
Right.
So anything in your peripheral vision, you don't have the benefit of the cones in your eyes to tell you what the colors are. But we do have complicated brains that can deduce certain information. So if I have my hand in front of my face and it's a very pale Irish hand, mm-hmm. and I move it into my peripheral vision, even though I'm looking at you, I still perceive my hand to be my fleshy white Irish hand.
Right,
but that's because my brain is filling in the color.
Yep.
Physically, this is black and white off to the sides.
It's so cool.
And so the idea that your peripheral vision is different from your dead ahead vision mm-hmm. means that your brain is constantly filling in gaps and making inferences about what's happening out here. So maybe you are seeing something that's impossible and your brain is preventing you from realizing it.
Ooh, so that in that way it supports Dustin's.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like
that is very interesting. Your logical brain is like, no, there can't be anything there,
no
so don't worry about it. But there is, and maybe it's banking on the fact that it knows that your brain, or it just doesn't care.
Sure.
But ooh,
yeah,
that's an interesting idea.
I think I've also said my fun horror theory here. That's partly like a fun what if to investigate in ghost hunting world in real life, and partly like a launch point for like storytelling, metaphorical storytelling. But all of these ghost stories where it's like, an elderly couple celebrating their 50th anniversary. So they go away and they rent a hotel room and they were in bed one night going to sleep early so they could wake up the next morning to go explore this area, whatever. But they heard a ghost over in the corner. Like the window slammed over to the left and by the time they whipped their head around, there was nothing there. Like, and then ghost hunting shows go in to investigate and they're like, is there a spirit here? Hello, are you here? And they're looking all over the place and putting microphones out there for the ghosts. Ghosts don't respond directly.
Yeah.
They only exist in your peripheral.
Right.
So a real ghost hunter show, what I want us to do, I think I've suggested we do this, and we always want to, but we just haven't gotten around to it, is go somewhere that's supposed to be haunted and don't talk to the ghosts.
Mm-hmm. And just see what happens.
Do anything else. Record this show.
What to say? Yeah, that might be a way
in
to
a haunted environment and see if we experience anything in our peripheral.
Right.
Right? Don't focus on it.
Yeah. Have the camera on us so it could maybe pick up something, have something running for EVPs. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the whole show could act as an EVP, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
And see what happens.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
I love that theory. That's a great one, Dustin.
I do too. I love it. The idea that it's just always there, and we think we're terrified of it because it's like a scary psychological thing, but you're terrified of it because it's real.
Oh, totally.
And you're just shutting down the idea that it's real because it's childish or whatever.
Yes, and also survival stories.
Yeah.
Right? Like, actually, this goes to the village as well. Like, don't go into the woods. There are monsters in there. Is the real sort of survival technique that we used in olden days to say, don't stray far away from the camp.
Yes.
You're safe right here. Don't go off into the dark because you should be by all of us because we can keep each other safe if we're all together. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's the cover we gave because there really is something off in the dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to this one from Chloe. Doppelgangers are the scariest paranormal phenomena. Prove me wrong.
Interesting. We've covered doppelgangers before, right?
We covered tulpas.
Okay.
I don't think that we covered doppelgangers proper.
They are a topic unto themselves.
Yes.
What I know of doppelgangers is that they can sometimes be omens, meaning if you see yourself, it foretells doom in some way, shape, or form. What's your understanding?
That.
That?
Exactly that you're encountering this weird carbon copy of yourself, and that can't be good news.
It can't be good news. I wish I knew more of the why. Why is it the scariest thing, you know?
I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe Chloe is saying it's scary to come face to face with something that's exactly you, and how unnerving and weird that would be. It feels not right and like not of nature.
I want like a follow-up to this. We got to reach out to Chloe and ask,
why do they scare
what
you?
scares you? Because when I think of doppelganger, it could be a demon that looks like you. It could be a vision. It could be a ghost. It could be a time warp.
True.
It could be any one of these things. That's fascinating.
Okay, you know what? Let's put a pin in this. We are going to be doing future episodes of these hot takes. So, Chloe, we're coming for you if we haven't already, frankly.
This is the kind of thing, too, that like send us your opinions about our opinions here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying we're right or wrong. These are just the things that we think and feel.
Yeah, absolutely. By all means, bring it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next two are like somewhat connected. I paired them together, but I'll still read them separately. Okay. The first one is from JD. He says, this has come up in the Discord, which is for patrons only. If you go to patreon.com/GTTU pod, you can join our Discord. But I really think that Bigfoot slash Sasquatch, rather than solely being an anthropological cryptid, has some sort of interdimensional element to it. So part of the reason we cannot find it, and perhaps even its very existence, are due to its traveling from a parallel dimension into ours.
Okay.
I like this theory. This is something that I had mentioned on Guide to the Unknown a few episodes ago as something that I'm going to be researching a little bit more myself for Hunt a Killer, for the blog over there, and writing something about that. So I have a glancing knowledge of this theory and this hot take, and I'm very into it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those where you do have to say, like, if interdimensional things are a thing, and if, but I mean, if we're going to go with all of those things, I think it's a very interesting and plausible within that framework idea, because why is he so elusive? Or why are they so elusive? Wouldn't we have, if they're just animals, wouldn't we have caught up to them at some point? So what else could be going on? And so, yeah, maybe it is that it's like slipping to and from different dimensions.
I see what you're saying. So if we take on the face of it, there is a Bigfoot, and yet we can't find it.
Right.
Therefore, it must be
if
somewhere
we
it cannot
accept
be found.
That there are also different dimensions, you know?
Uh-huh. Interesting. Yeah, that's fun then, too, because then that would make Bigfoot not only a cryptid or a creature in our dimension, maybe also just a regular old run-of-the-mill entity.
Yeah,
and I don't mean entity in the supernatural. I mean entity in the way that you're an entity and I'm an entity.
Oh,
he's an autonomous being in his dimension. Maybe there are other Bigfoot creatures there.
I would still say that's paranormal to us, though.
Oh, I'm saying it's paranormal to us.
Yeah, but he could just be living a normal life.
If you and I went to Mars, we'd be the aliens.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. So, yes, like in his dimension, it could just be that there are a whole bunch of Bigfoot there.
Yeah, there are a bunch of big feet.
Yeah, big feet.
Big feet.
Yeah.
So he is not only evidence of other kinds of living creatures, but also evidence of other universes definitely being real.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a tantalizing teaser, but I also know that there are theories about Bigfoot being like an extraterrestrial kind of thing. I don't know a lot about it. It's something that I'm gonna have to dig into a little bit more. But there are definitely a lot of schools of thought out there about Bigfoot not just being like a normal, a normal but unknown mammal that lives on our planet and that is very elusive, but being some sort of paranormal, like, dimension hopping entity.
There's a pretty beloved, maybe notorious Star Wars comic book where Han Solo and Chewbacca find themselves like jumping to a galaxy they've never been to before, and it's Earth. It's like a primordial Earth. And they crash the Millennium Falcon, and Han Solo dies in the crash. Chewbacca survives, though, and then flash forward, and Indiana Jones is adventuring through this jungle and finds the Millennium Falcon. I can't say that.
Yeah,
Millennium Falcon, and sees the corpse of Han Solo. So Indiana Jones and Han Solo sort of
are in the same universe.
And then they're like, there have been rumors of like a tall ape man in this region, but that's just poppycock. And as they leave, Chewbacca's standing in a tree watching them go. So Chewbacca is Bigfoot,
is Bigfoot.
which would then make him an extraterrestrial, which would then make him sort of from another universe.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to try to remember that.
Right? It's pretty fun. If you haven't seen it before, you should all definitely look it up. It's super. I think it's a what if. It's not like a canon thing at all.
Right.
But it's a really fun idea, and I love the idea of Chewbacca being Bigfoot. I don't like the idea that he saw Han Solo die. And now he
that's
lives
just
in the
sad.
same area as where
they're
the
best
Millennium
friends,
Falcon
right?
crashed. Yeah, they're best friends.
Yeah, so I don't want that for
Best
him.
friends.
The best of friends.
He's my best friend. Is that ever a scene in Star Wars? I can't go, Leia. He's my best friend.
Remember that movie?
How could you say that to him? He's my best friend.
Remember that movie that came out I guess last summer with The Rock, and what was it? Where it's with a gorilla.
Rampage.
Yes.
A couple years ago.
He's like, "What did you do to my friend?"
Yes.
About the gorilla.
Yeah, I can't believe what you're doing to my friend. I think I saw that movie in L.A.
Really?
I think when I went to L.A., I was alone, first of all.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
And we would be recording at
He's
an
recording
Emmy-nominated studio.
The podcast Earthbreak, which you can look up right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Blackwood.
Yep.
So I'd be working with people that are famous from television, have done movies and stuff.
Jenny Slate.
And then the whole rest of the day I'd be alone. So and I'd never been to LA before at that point. So I went to I wanted to go to the Chinese theater because it's iconic and everything. But the only movie I could see was Tag.
That's right.
With Ed Helms. So I saw I
remember that.
It's the worst movie in the most famous theater in the world. I think I saw Skyscraper with
so
The Rock.
funny.
I think I saw Rampage out there.
Skyscraper. Nev Campbell was in Skyscraper.
You better believe it.
So did you see that?
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I waited for it to start because what else was I doing?
I know. I was reminiscing about when you go to the movies and we both had AMC stubs and Ryan and I, my husband, would see just these weird movies because we could.
Yeah.
Different times.
Such different times.
Yeah.
Good God.
Okay, so this hot take is from Choyette, and it kind of connects to the one that we just did. So they say, I think this was mentioned in episode 108. Time isn't linear, but overlaps. That's where ghosts come from and Bigfoots or big feet. It's just a blip where time bleeds into itself a bit. And that's why things that happened years ago feel like they just happened, but we don't remember what or if we ate breakfast.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
I know. It's a hot take because it's an unusual thing to think, but
Right.
I'm into it.
It posits a metaphysical theory, so it's a hot take. But yeah, I love that. It sort of takes into this notion that I've always wondered of ghosts. So you die.
Yeah.
And then you're able to walk through doors and walls and stuff.
Right.
Right? Why does gravity still work?
Right. Right.
Maybe the sort of repeating form of ghosts notion of she's always
Residual
baking cookies.
hauntings.
The residual haunts,
Yep.
yeah. She's always baking cookies anytime I see her. That's because you happen to be in the room at the right time when the earth is back in position for her to be there again.
Right.
Because not only is the earth spinning, every day and night we make one full rotation of the earth spinning. Not only that, we're orbiting the sun.
Yeah.
So every year it takes a full year for us to go around the sun and get back to where we started. And we're spinning. Right. So I wonder if ghosts, when you die, you die and you're oh, I guess I'll haunt this house. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's slipping away from me because the earth is spinning away from you and moving because you're unbound.
So you're saying that you'll be bound to actually that exact spot. Is that what you're kind of saying?
I don't even know if you're bound. If you're dead and you can walk through walls, then that implies that you're not part of the physical realm at all.
Oh, that's what I mean.
And gravity is part of the physical realm, right?
Yes. I'm getting lost in the weeds of this thought.
I know, because it's weird.
Yeah. But no, I like it.
So when you die, the ground should be slipping out from under your feet because the earth is spinning on its axis and rotating away from you as it goes around the sun. And you'll have to wait 365 days for the earth to come back to you.
Right. I don't know. I mean, maybe they are bound to the laws of gravity just because I don't know why.
Light is light. Gravity bends light.
Right.
So maybe I'm wrong.
No, but it's fun to think about.
Let's hypothesize that maybe the outlandish thing I said might be wrong.
I'm not willing to hypothesize that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, we don't know about all this stuff. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you my next hot take, which kind of fits into this line of inquiry.
Okay.
After we talk about ourselves for a second.
All right.
If you like us, Guides to the Unknown, we have even more for you out there that you may not have experienced yet.
Yes.
If you go to patreon.com/GTTUpod and you sign up at the Netherworld's Warrior level, where you donate $4 or more per month, we have a whole separate secret podcast that comes out monthly that you can set up to go directly into your podcast feed called the Netherworld Dispatch. We do different kinds of stuff over there that we can't do on the regular feed, like watching clips and letting you hear the actual audio from those clips, where that would get dinged normally for copyright on a normal podcast feed. What other kind of stuff we do? We have, besides those regular episodes, we also have video game playthroughs. We do a monthly planning session with the patrons over there, so you can help us plan our next month of shows and have input into what happens.
Yeah, it gives you like a real insight. We tend to share like a lot of personal info there as well. We've done like really oddball types of shows for the Netherworld Dispatch that would never be on this feed.
Yes, that's completely correct. And there's also a patron-only Discord where you can hang out with other people who like Guides to the Unknown. And it's basically like a running chat room that you can check into anytime you want, that's divided up into different room categories. So there's a category for animal pictures, for memes, for other podcast discussions. It's a very, very cool place. And by you donating that money, you really honestly help the show keep going.
Yeah.
So maybe check that out, and thank you so much to our existing patrons for helping support the show.
Yeah, and if you're into this episode, if you're into these weird conversations that Kristen and I have about the sort of wide world of horror and spooky stuff, and this show is sort of like an interesting example of the kinds of like the variety of topics that we get into on Guide to the Unknown, because we'll talk about the real life stories behind horror movies, and we'll talk about folklore, and we really run the full spectrum. If this is your kind of thing, please consider spreading the word.
Yes.
Guide to the Unknown really sort of lives and dies on whether or not the people that listen to it support us either on Patreon or by telling friends, writing posts, letting somebody know that they should check it out, leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Any and every one of those things that you can do to sort of increase the spread of Guide to the Unknown will help
like a virus.
Yeah, it'll help us spread like a virus. It's only going to keep the party going.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for listening, and please tell your friends.
Thank you.
Okay, so here is my take that's really lifting from somebody else's take that I found so interesting just like 2 days ago, basically.
Okay.
So I am reading this book called Life with the Afterlife by Amy Bruni, who used to be on Ghost Hunters and is currently on the show Kindred Spirits. There is a chapter where she talks about the idea that ghosts could possibly age in the afterlife, but also maybe sometimes they don't. Maybe they choose not to. Maybe they're locked into an age. Again, we don't know what happens, but it's just kind of fun positing. So she talks to this this guy, John Tenney, who's like a really well-known figure in the paranormal world. He has a few really interesting books, and he kind of wonders whether people keep evolving after they die, since everything in nature evolves. So if somebody dies at 50 and you go into a haunted house that they're supposed to occupy 50 years later, is their consciousness still that of a 50-year-old, or are you now talking to basically a 100-year-old?
Right.
And so do they progress, or do they freeze, and why might that be? So Amy posits that for all we know, there could be some sort of time warp happening, so kind of similar to what we were just talking about, even in the afterlife. So some people appear old and some people appear young. And when I was reading this, thought to myself, I wonder if some people might freeze their age at death and not progress, not be the 50-year-old who becomes 100 when they died because they suffered some sort of trauma, just like in real life, how some people's kind of psychological and emotional age sometimes freezes at the time that they went through some sort of really big trauma.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I find it So interesting. I've never heard those theories before, and I love them.
I absolutely love that theory. I have always wondered, and I don't think I've ever said this out loud, I've wondered if ghosts go mad. Do ghosts lose their minds as well? Like maybe they can't accept being dead, or like I think a lot about that scene in The Sixth Sense, very Shyamalan heavy show, where boy, I don't even remember the character's name, but Haley Joel Osment. There's a woman in the kitchen of his house.
I know.
And she turns around and goes, "Look what you made me do." And she's cut her wrists. And some ghosts in that movie seem to be like, I'm dead and I need your help.
Right.
But she's trapped in like her worst moment.
Right.
And that maybe she's been doing that for 50 years. And if you were doing literally, like they say that even 15 minutes of solitary confinement is enough to do like mental damage. If you're a ghost and you're trapped in your like worst moment for 50 years, does your sanity break?
I think that's a very good question. I hadn't thought about it, but I think that could be, because also a lot of what Amy Bruni has said in this book, and that I agree with, is that from my understanding or thoughts about ghosts, that like ghosts are people too. They once were alive, and if we're going to believe that something is going on with them on the other side, they're still a person who has like wants and needs and likes and dislikes and whatever. And so if they have all those things, couldn't they also have emotional tethers that could kind of break? Yeah. So I don't see why not. And also like even the idea of people being like stuck to a place, that's kind of like an emotional distress thing that you could say is sort of madness.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see, I'm still, I mean, the debate of whether or not the afterlife exists at all is so much bigger and something that we've dabbled in a million times. But like, if I'm going to take for granted that the afterlife exists, why should the way that people behave be any different in the world of the dead?
Yeah.
Two people can go through arguably the same traumatic event and come out the other side with vastly different outcomes, either because one person like, you know, had their coping mechanism of going with the flow. Maybe the other person like refused to accept that this was happening. But either way, like the world is what you make it. It's up to you to decide how you're going to react to the things that life throws at you. Right. So if you're now a ghost forever, and if you are the kind of person to refuse to accept this, do you then become a residual haunting? Yeah. You know, like, do you sort of do you make yourself into all these? Maybe this is even why we have this bizarrely wide spectrum of what ghosts are, because it's up to each one of us individually to decide how we're going to respond to this new life event, even though we're afterlife event.
Exactly. So I think that's part of what John E.L. Tenney was saying, is that like maybe some ghosts can kind of choose to move on, develop, and be like, yeah, I want to keep kind of living and evolving. And so I am learning more things through my afterlife the same way I would have learned more things in my life. And maybe some ghosts are just locked in for whatever reason. And maybe that could be preference that they want to, or they could be scared to move on, or they could just be stubborn or whatever. It's really interesting. And it reminds me of something that I know we talked about on the show before, that and not just me, like, I don't really think demons are a thing that like doesn't really scare me at all. I kind of think it's just like a-hole ghosts who are being mean. If that's like, if something's going on, it's like violence in their house or whatever, and we're believing that, maybe they're just like screwing with people because they're jerks.
Maybe.
And also, like, if you were a jerk in life, you might be a jerk in the afterlife, and you might be like, well, I'm a ghost now. Like, I can screw with people and make them think there's a demon around. And you know what I mean?
I know that you're all afraid of demons.
Yeah, right. So I'm just going to use that.
Yeah, totally. Maybe they're thousands of years old, too. By the way. Like, maybe it's just you go long enough and you can use all of this vast knowledge as a weapon against the living.
Right. You know how to work the system now a little bit. And maybe you're a jerk and you want to do that in a way that upsets people. Or maybe you're nice and you use it in a way that's nice.
Yeah. Everybody watch The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw that movie?
A long time ago. I like barely even remember it.
This is not a horror hot take. That movie rules.
I know. I remember thinking it ruled, and I know that people say it rules.
Brad Dourif, possibly playing a demon or a ghost? I don't know, but sort of the not knowing.
Right.
He even in that movie goes, I'm sorry, I've gone mad.
He's got such a scary voice.
He's so scary. He's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
But so he pretends to be a demon. He pretends to be a dead guy. He pretends to be all these things in a way that means, like, I don't know what he is. Maybe he is primordial evil, or maybe he's just a guy.
Yeah.
Who's
messing with your mind.
I think it sort of like taps into everything we were just talking about.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, I'm going to share a hot take of mine. This is a positive hot take.
Great.
Sort of. Jump scares. They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah.
People hate jump scares. Hate them.
They must not, because they're in so many movies.
That's what it is. People say they hate jump scares.
Yeah, they must not.
People hate cheap jump scares.
Yeah.
People will, I've seen like a million people put down a movie because it's like loaded with jump scares, as if that is objectively bad for a movie to have.
That's partially kind of what you're here for.
Yes. Horror movies, to some extent, not all of them, but horror movies, a lot of the time, are like a roller coaster.
Totally.
It's a haunted house, and you need the attractions
Yes.
in there. Jump scares can be misused and abused.
Sure.
If they happen every 5 seconds, it's probably going to get really tired.
Right.
But they're not bad in and of themselves. Jump scares can be completely wonderful jolts of just shock and surprise. You wouldn't ride a roller coaster and be like, another loop?
Yeah, right.
You're gonna throw another loop?
You know what you're signing up for.
You're going to throw another tight bend at me?
Yeah.
Come on.
When you watch a horror movie, you know there's going to be a jump scare.
Absolutely.
Depending on the kind of movie.
Yes.
So, yeah, of course.
Yes, absolutely. I think that jump scares are part of the fun. I think couple this with my
agree.
audiences are too uptight.
Yeah.
Hot take, and it's just like,
I think it's just taking things
fine if you
very
don't like 'em.
seriously.
it's part of the ride.
Right.
It's part of the fun.
So, okay, so if like part of the thing about like audiences kind of ruining stuff is that they take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because jump scares are like cheap and silly? So then they're like, well, they're like beneath some people.
They tend to be throwaway, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's like what a jump scare is defined by is usually a sting of music and a shocking image on the screen at the same time. Boy, what's a good example of a cheap one? Here's something that I remember people really going nuts over. Blair Witch 2016. There's a moment where characters just keep popping up at the campsite.
Yeah.
And eventually the main character
people
goes,
did. Yeah.
and the main character goes like, all right, you've got to stop doing that. Because people just keep going like, James! And like showing up, and it turns out to be fine. They just showed up.
Yeah.
But it's loud and it's jarring. But to me, that was part of the fabric of what it's like to be in the woods.
Yeah.
And not know who might be around the corner or whatever.
Yes. You hear things and you're like, oh God, what's that? What's that?
Yeah. So that's what people call a cheap jump scare. But I still think that that's part of the, like, a horror movie doesn't want you to be relaxed.
No.
You know? So I think it's part of the fabric of, it's not setting tension by doing that, but it's part of the fabric of like a heart rate monitor, the peaks and valleys.
Right.
I think it's just like part of the fun of like
It totally
keeping
is.
you off kilter all the time.
Yeah.
I also think that people do like feeling that jolt of fun.
They definitely do.
And then examples of good jump scares, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Okay.
There was a moment in that movie, I know you don't like any of this stuff, but Chop Top.
I kind of like the second one because it's just so gonzo and bananas.
It is what Rob Zombie wishes his stuff was like.
Yes.
Chop Top, played by Bill Moseley, shows up at a record station, and he's wearing a Sonny Bono wig.
Yeah.
And little hippie glasses, hippie sunglasses, and he's going, "Oh, hey, oh, it's nice to meet you." To the DJ, goes, "You're my fave." Shows her the peace sign. He's pretending to be a hippie.
Yeah.
Even though we all know he's a murderous cannibal.
Right.
Which is bizarre. And so she's trying to get him to leave the DJ, and so she takes him on a tour of the station. And she goes, "Okay, well, that's it. Good night." He goes, "Good night." She goes, "No, good night."
Yeah, like,
goes,
go.
"Good night." Like he's not picking up the kind hint. And then they find themselves next to the radio station's like vault of records, and the lights are off. And he goes, "Well, why don't you show me what's in here?" And he flicks on the light switch, and Leatherface is already running through the door with his chainsaw wrapped. It is so shocking. It is so great. It is a jump scare of the highest order. It is not a false jump scare because there's a genuine threat in that moment.
Yeah.
But it is wonderful. I've never heard anyone denigrate that moment, you know, and that is a jump scare. I think that jump scares are a thing. They're a hook. They're a technique that becomes an easy rallying cry of cheapness. But in and of themselves,
we clearly like them.
They're part of the fun.
Yes. Like there are people who, do research on the parts of movies that get the most response from crowds and things like that. If jump scares weren't rating positively, we wouldn't be seeing them in movies because it all boils down to dollars and cents for big studios, at least. People must be somehow responding positively to jump scares when they do these kinds of studies.
Yes.
For sure.
The famous marketing of Paranormal Activity.
I know. I was just thinking that too.
Right?
Yeah.
The night vision cameras in the movie theater showing people jump and scream.
And honestly, usually you jump and scream and then laugh.
Yes.
And everybody likes to laugh.
The come down from a scare is just as enjoyable as the scare itself.
Yes, totally. Like the most jump scary movie that got me in recent memory in theaters was A Quiet Place. I remember just being like, God damn it.
Oh, really?
Got me. Yeah, that movie kept scaring the hell out of me. It was so tense.
That's funny.
But it's fun.
Did part 2 of that come out, or did that get delayed as well?
It got delayed. Yep.
Yeah, no, I think they're fun. I think the common refrain that I usually hear from people is like, it's shocking, it's jolting, it's startling. That's what it is. Yeah. It's startling. It's not scary. I'm like, all right, well, but that's not usually, most movies don't hinge on startle, but startle is part of it.
No, it's part of it. Gives you a little something. It breaks the tension a lot of the time.
Yep.
It's just boils down to it being fun.
Totally.
And people kind of purporting to not like fun in some ways when they're critiquing something, but obviously you do.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. So let's do a couple that I think are probably potentially going to take us out. We'll see how it goes. That sort of, again, relate to each other and relate to something that we were just talking about. These are going to be about residual hauntings.
Okay.
So Hayden said, I think that residual non-intelligent hauntings. So real quick, residual hauntings are when you come across somebody who is just doing the same thing over and over again. So it could be that you are at Gettysburg and you're seeing somebody, a soldier, holding a gun, like marching like they're guarding something, and they seem to be completely unaware that anything else is going on. They're just acting out that part of their life over and over again. That's what's known as residual. And intelligent hauntings are hauntings that could interact with you in some way, and they're aware that something else is there.
Right.
So anyway, Hayden thinks that residual, non-intelligent hauntings could be buildups of electrical energy in a space. Like when you have a video game on a screen too long and it is imprinted on the screen.
Oh.
I think that is such a cool idea. I think that particularly that might resonate as true to me more if the residual haunting is of something that has a big emotional impact.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Because if it's just somebody who is at the sink doing dishes, I don't know why that would necessarily leave that kind of electrical energy there, because it's just kind of whatever. But if somebody was in a really heightened state doing something and they have all this energy coursing through their body, I could see that leaving an impact as though it's a video game on a screen for too long. And by the way, I love that analogy.
I love that analogy. It's like a blast radius or something like that. I think that a lot of people say that ghosts are meant to be people that have unfinished business, which I think is a version of emotional or psychological discomfort at the moment of death that would cause you to linger on, or intense violence or something like that. Some sort of like real potent emotional psychological damage. I've heard that a lot. I've never heard the video game burn in on the screen metaphor, which I think is very fun.
I love it. All right, we actually will have time for a few more, but here's the one that relates to it. JD had said that residual hauntings aren't leftover memories or energy. They're momentary slips in time, and potentially we are showing up in the past just like they are in the present. So that's kind of like what happens in, I can't remember if it happens in the movie The Conjuring, but I know that in the story of The Conjuring with the Perrin family, they say that something like that kind of happened.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we talked about it in the episode. I don't remember it super duper well, but I think that they said that somebody in the house walked into their living room, or excuse me, their dining room, and they saw a family having dinner, not their own family. And that at least somebody who was sitting there having dinner looked up and looked at them like they were shocked to see them. Like, what the hell? And in that moment, one of the parents was a ghost to these people who are having dinner.
Yeah.
And so it would seem that there was some sort of like wormhole or time portal that had somehow opened up.
That's interesting. I love that sort of thing. That's some of the notion that's present in the Netflix series The Haunting of Hill House. This sort of time is slippery idea. This is something I don't want to spoil because I value it too much.
I know.
But there are moments where a character in the modern era is not surprised to turn and see somebody who shouldn't be there. And it's just like, where are you going? Like, is so willing to accept that we can slip in and out of time and stuff like that, that it hurts your heart. I love that sort of thing. Also, that means that maybe like ghost stories and aliens can be people from the future.
Right.
Maybe you and I have appeared as ghosts to somebody in the long distant past and we don't even know it.
Right. That's true. There could have been somebody who was in the corner of our eye, maybe in that darkness, who freaked out about us being there and we just weren't aware of it.
Yeah. Super fun.
All right, let's move on to a few more. So Caitlin says, this is something that we've talked about before, and it again connects a little bit. Caitlin says, the Conjuring series is fun, but too sentimental to be really great.
Aha.
Ha. It has a level of corniness that takes it down a notch.
Saccharine.
It is saccharine.
It's very, very sweet, which I think is about... This is about contrasts a little bit. I think that Lorraine and Ed Warren are meant to be so lovey-dovey and so pure good that in the face of the evil they're fighting, they're even more of a beacon or something like that.
Yes. And I also think that they put a little bit too fine a point on it in the movies. They really make that contrast, that they are able to kind of cast them out, not just because it's their job as ghost hunters and demonologists and ordained exorcists in the case of Ed Warren, but because they have this inherent goodness.
I do think
that causes them to sing sweet songs.
The Conjuring franchise is very interesting to me. I wouldn't go so far as to say anything like I can't believe they're that popular because they're good movies.
I like them, yeah.
But there are so many of them, and I'm shocked that so many film universes, cinematic universes, have fallen by the wayside, and The Conjuring is still going strong.
What's a cinematic universe that you're thinking of? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
What? What?
I saw that's on Amazon Prime, and I want to watch it. It's on the mind.
Oh my God. No, no. Obviously, everybody's still. It's been what, like 13 years of the Avengers movies of the MCU. And they're perfect.
It slaps.
It's totally slaps. And people have been chasing that.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm not saying that the formula should be easy, but companies complicate it too much for themselves. Like I think all the DC stuff, they've overcomplicated that universe, and that's why it didn't hold up. I think that Universal jumped the gun, making their dark universe. And the Conjuring...
Oh, that's right. That damn dark universe.
And The Conjuring has just been sort of secretly, quietly building its thing. So I'm not shocked that it's all clicking and working. They're not making a big deal out of a Conjuring verse or anything.
Right.
But the movies as individual pieces, unlike the Avengers, which are telling a cohesive story that builds up to fighting like Thanos, right? There's not a unifying thing in the Conjuring world at all.
Right.
And individually,
it's really just that you know that this is in the Conjuring universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think those movies take a lot of risks or do a lot of broad, innovative things, which is also fine.
Yeah.
I think that this is a good hot take because I think that I think that the Conjuring franchise is completely skating by. I think that people are complimentary of it without being effusive. Maybe this is the answer to what I was even saying in the beginning about fandoms being too extreme.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's that extreme about the Conjuring verse.
That might be true.
I don't know that I've met anybody who absolutely hates it or absolutely loves it.
Yeah, that might be true.
And therefore, I think it's allowed to just do its thing, which is very interesting. But does that prevent it from being
truly
one of the greats?
I don't feel it to be really great.
It's not on like the Pantheon. It's not on like your
No, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I will probably always see the movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's like this is a great quality up there movie. It is solidly good.
Yes.
And that's cool.
Yes. They're entertainment.
Fine with that. Yeah, I like to be entertained.
Yes.
Entertain me.
Entertain me. Fascinating. I love that. Great hot take.
Totally. All right, so you know what? Let's open at the close with this one from Elizabeth. Her hot take is in the form of a question. They say, are the signs aliens actually demons? And she said this was stolen from the Blank Check podcast, which we also talked about. So truly opening at the close.
It's true.
Blank Check did a series about M. Night Shyamalan. So go check that out. It's great.
Blank Check is a podcast. They cover like directors.
Yes. So they covered all the M. Night Shyamalan movies that he was a director for.
Yes. What is your take?
You know what? I almost wish that I had researched this a little bit more.
I
or
can
looked
tell
at my
you about
notes.
it to give you the baseline.
I know the baseline, but I can't remember what my opinion is on it. I think it's a cool. You know what? I think no, that they are not demons, but I think it's a cool subtext.
Okay. For those of you who are not in the know, I'll try to keep it brief. The premise of the movie Signs is that Mel Gibson is a former priest. He has lost his faith. He is a farmer, and crop circles start showing up in the fields of corn around his house. So the aliens are attacking this farmhouse on the bare face of it. The subtext is all this. The movie is, it's about aliens attacking, but it's literally about Mel Gibson's faith.
Grappling with his faith.
Faith in God, capital G God. And he has to find his faith in order to save his family and fight back against the aliens.
Right.
The way the aliens are defeated at the end of the movie, Mel Gibson's got a daughter who's been leaving glasses of water all over the house. Also, Mel Gibson's wife died by being pinned against a tree with a car by Michael Showalter.
I don't think Michael Showalter did it. I think he's just a baddie in town.
Yeah, he's a baddie in town.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan himself was the driver who did it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he has a cameo. Anyway, her final
They held
words,
a funeral service for that woman on the set in a sort of method acting kind of way. I talked about that in our episode about crop circles.
Okay.
It was heavy-handed on Shyamalan's part.
Okey-dokey.
Yep.
So, sorry, that really threw me for a loop. I completely forgot about that. So one of her final words that she said to him was, "Swing away, Merrill." Merrill is his brother, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Also we really are opening at the close, also of The Village.
Yes, that's true.
So anyway, the way that they defeat this alien at the end is that Joaquin Phoenix needs to swing away, needs to swing a baseball bat at the glasses of water that'll splash all over the alien.
Right.
The alien's weakness is water, and that saves them all, and they fly away.
Right. So
signs. Crop circles in the corn, is that the sign? Or are the signs the metaphor about his faith in that he's got to piece together all of these signs that are all around him? My daughter leaves glasses of water all over the place. My brother used to play baseball. He's got a bat hanging on the wall here.
They're all meaningful.
Final words were "swing away, Merrill." She wasn't even talking to me. He wasn't even there. He says, he's like, do you know why she said that? It's because her brain was dying.
I know.
And so she probably associated some memory from a long time ago. It's meaningless. So his central concern is, does the universe have order or not?
Right.
Did what she say mean everything, or did it mean absolutely nothing because her brain was dying? Because that is the central metaphor of the movie, and I believe that is the central metaphor of the movie, and so therefore his faith is literally the key to defeating the aliens. Does that mean that the internet fan theory of the glasses of water are not just water,
they're
but holy
water?
And that's why they burn the alien, because it's a demon, not just a space alien. Earth's atmosphere is like 90% water. You and I are breathing water particles right this very second. Is that literally what's happening in the movie? Is it a demon? So you're saying no.
I don't think so. I think that they are literally aliens. And I think that if even that, it might be a subtextual sort of thing. But I do not feel that they are demons.
You know what this would need?
What?
For this theory to work for me. I think we would need a scene of his daughter mimicking her father's actions of a priest and blessing the water.
Yeah.
And right, and he views it as her trying to still embody.
But it actually works.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also really sweet.
Right, she's just mimicking things she saw her daddy do.
I love Abigail Breslin in this movie. I love
it's Abigail
this
Breslin.
movie.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes, she's so unbelievably cute in this movie.
And isn't it Rory
And it's
Culkin?
a great movie. Yes.
Charlie Walker from Scream 4. Mm-hmm. Finally got a Scream reference in here.
Finally. Just the nick of time.
I think it would need something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a subtextual thing you can look at and see. Mm-hmm. I personally enjoy it.
I do too. I really like the idea.
The movie lives and dies off of Mel Gibson and the viewer, honestly, being it's up to us now to decide whether or not we believe in those signs too. Mm-hmm. I think the point is it doesn't really tell us either way.
No. Oh, what a film.
I like it.
Oh, I love signs.
And this was another movie that was poo-pooed.
I know.
That was poo-pooed.
I know. I really like M. Night Shyamalan.
So do I.
I think he's done some good stuff.
I'm going to say I don't think that the alien is a demon.
Yeah, that's also how I feel. I think it's a really fun theory.
Very fun.
But
they come from above or below, right? That's really the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Are they from out there? Or
yeah,
down
right.
there?
No, I think they're from out there. I mean, you also see them in other countries and stuff like that.
True. They've got great Bigfoot.
Yes.
Footage,
I love it.
Bigfoot mimicking scene.
I love signs. I love
Technically
that
a jump
part.
scare.
Yes. I love that part where Joaquin Phoenix is watching the TV in the closet. Oh, it's so good.
He's going, "Vámonos, children," because the children on TV are speaking Spanish. Yeah. And they're clustered around the window where they saw the monster.
Yeah.
He's screaming at the television. Oh, that movie's great.
It's great.
It's great.
It totally is.
I'm going to say it's aliens.
Yes, that's also how I feel.
I'm going to say it's aliens, and the point is taking things on faith is very hard to do.
Yeah.
So I think that by having a definitive on it's definitely God is real is not the point.
No, I don't think so either.
So therefore, they're probably not demons.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's very fun.
Oh, me too. I love theories like that.
Oh, God. They use the baby monitor and they pick up the signals from outer space. And
William?
it's so good.
It's so good.
The sound of that movie is really good. Mm-hmm. Running through the cornfield.
It's fantastic. And I also think that you're not expecting to see aliens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're like, okay, they're going to dance around it a little bit. And then when it happens, you're like, ooh.
True.
I think it partially is biased from other M. Night Shyamalan movies. Again, them being kind of pulling a switch on you or twists and things like that. I don't think that I anticipated there being a twist exactly.
Yeah.
But I love that it's not you're going to have to wonder. I guess I bet that I thought we're going to have to wonder what's going on here or they're going to imply it or whatever, that you straight up just see aliens. They're outside the door and reaching a hand under a door at one point, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. You see them head on. It's so exciting. You're like, oh, they went for it.
Going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like about those early M. Night Shyamalan movies is that he doesn't really hold back.
Mm-hmm.
The Sixth Sense undeniably has ghosts in it.
Yeah.
Unbreakable is undeniably about people with superpowers.
Right. It's not dancing around it. It's not a metaphor for something. They have superpowers. I think that the metaphor in this is about faith, but the aliens are real. Yeah, the metaphor is certainly there, but the aliens are just straight up aliens.
Yeah, super fun.
Oh, it's great.
That's great. I don't know in what form. We don't talk about M. Night Shyamalan much. There's not really a call for it on this show because he makes up his own fictional stories. I'd love to find some reason. I don't even care. Call it an excuse to talk about Shyamalan.
We have thrown around on our spreadsheet of ideas for future episodes to record. We talked about watching movies and talking about them. So maybe some M. Night Shyamalan movies would be good to do.
Maybe we got to try the ones we haven't seen.
Yeah, The Happening.
It's time to put our monkey where our mouth is and check out The Happening.
I'm ready to put my monkey there.
Have you seen Lady in the Water?
Yes. Okay. I did not care for that.
Neither did I.
No.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think what other movies he's done.
Is it?
Well, he didn't direct that, right?
I thought he did.
I don't think
Am I
so.
wrong? Okay.
I don't think so. And I didn't see The Visit. I'm well aware of it. I read all about it.
Yeah.
I think The Happening is the only one of his that he wrote and directed that I haven't seen.
Okay. Well, hopefully maybe someday we'll get to say it's my happening and it freaks me out. I have no idea what that's from, by the way.
I don't either. I was about to say. I know that as a reference, but what is that?
I have no idea what that is.
Well, let's leave the people with that.
We'll leave them wanting more.
Yeah, exactly.
Or wanting way less.
Entirely less. Well, that's a shame because we have way more of these hot takes from listeners. So there are going to be more episodes of our hot takes. We'll spread them out a little bit, but if you didn't hear yours in this episode, expect to hear it in a future one. And if you have a hot take that you'd like us to discuss, please email it to gttupod@gmail.com.
Yeah, I even have a bunch that I wrote down that we did not
Oh, nice.
So I've got tons to share.
I only have one more.
Really?
I said to do 3 each.
You're going to have to cook up some more.
I can do that.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this show, go spread the word. Tell your friends. Call your grandma.
Yeah. Let her know.
Tell her what a podcast is. Good luck. Download the show. I'm sorry. I think I'm going loopy. Go to patreon.com/GTTUpod and back us on the Netherworld Warrior level starting at $4 a month. You're going to get a bunch of bonus shows, extra podcasts that Kristen and I have done that only our patrons have access to. You can find links to all of our social media, other groups. We've got a behind-the-scenes Discord just for Patreon people. And all of these things, all of Guide to the Unknown, the many episodes we've done live on GTTUpod.com.
That's right.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with us and for sending in your horror hot takes. I can't wait to talk more. It's fun to just sort of
I love it.
Jabberjaw about weird horror concepts that
theories,
run the full gamut of some pop culture, some real life metaphysical theorizing.
Yeah.
Very fun. So thank you all. We'll definitely see you next time for more spooky, weird conversation.
Yeah.
But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld, go we.
Or do we?
Oh.
Do you theorize? What do you think? At the end of the show, do we really go to the netherworld? Or do we not? Or are we lying? And we just turn off the recorder?
Would we lie to our audience?
And then I go upstairs and eat like a Kit Kat?
I think it's that one.
I think it's that one too.
Yeah. Great.